All right, guys, this week we are talking about the roles of a husband. Yes, that is me and Chuck, and we're in the box this week.
We talk about the church, family, theology, and even entertainment. In fact, if it's Christian, we're talking about it. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, this is the Mike Charleston Show, and I am Mike Charleston, and today I am joined by Chuck Tate.
Hello, everybody.
And Sarah Charleston.
Hello, everybody.
I didn't do that last week, so I had to make sure I did that. And today we are going to be talking about continuing in our three-part series, really, on the role of husbands and wives. And today, specifically, we're going to be talking about husbands. And that is where we're going to be talking about. And the first rule that we have, Chuck, is what?
Don't take anything that we say or anything we're talking about and use it as ammunition against your spouse.
That's right. I thought you were going to say, don't take anything we say and do it. No, don't use it as ammunition. Don't use it against them. This is for you to look at yourself. So we, just so you know, a little behind the scenes, we actually are recording 2 in a row. That's why we have the same outfit. So if you noticed that from last week, I know in your world, it happened a week ago. But for us, it happened like an hour ago.
Yeah.
And so we stopped to eat supper. And so anyway, so we're not really going to talk about... Oh, no, we do have a game, though, that we have, hopefully.
Yes.
If this all works out, there should be a game, a newlywed game in the middle. So I think that would be kind of fun to do. Jeannie's going to join us.
Yes,
so
that's the idea.
That'll be fun. So anyway, look forward to that. But this is a very serious subject, talking about husbands and wives. And last week we talked about biblical divine order and authority and what he sees authority as and how important that is in our lives, and that everything that we have comes from the scriptures, from the Bible, and we want to get it from there and not our culture, not from our society. And so when it comes to biblical roles, husbands and wives, that is a big deal. That is a huge deal. And especially when it comes to husbands, we're going to go first with husbands, and next week we'll cover wives because, well, we're the
That's
head.
what God did, right?
That's right. We're first. So this is the biggest responsibility, and probably the one that gets messed up the most is being the leader, being the men. So this is a very important episode. So if you're a man and you're watching this, please pay attention. And if you're a woman watching this, encourage your husband to watch it or listen to it.
Yeah. So before we actually dive into the scriptures, we got a good bit of scripture we're going to cover this, in this show. One of the things I want to keep in mind, so one of God's purposes for marriage is to be a picture of Christ's relationship to the church. We'll see that in the scriptures here in a minute. Very clearly pointed out that it's a picture of Christ's relationship to the church, the marriages. And as we examine the roles of husbands and wives, we need to keep in mind that how we embrace these roles and how we interact with one another in our marriage is a picture for the world of God's love to mankind. Marriage itself is a means for the married couple, to demonstrate their love for God.
Absolutely. That was well written. I wonder who wrote that.
I don't know.
Chuck wrote that. But that is true. And by the way, if you're watching on YouTube, we don't usually have our coffee cups. I don't drink coffee. Chuck's got a nice cup of coffee. I've got a nice cup of apple cinnamon tea.
That's right.
And look at my cup. So this is just for the episode. I love my wife. That's what it says.
Oh, I like that one.
So anyway, why don't we go ahead and just get into the scripture? It's a long verse here, and Sarah's not going to be talking too much in this episode, probably, right?
I don't know. I might have a lot to say.
Yeah. All right. But this is whenever you're talking about marriage, then you are definitely have to go to Ephesians 5, 2 through 33. This is a lengthy...
22 through 33.
What did I say?
2 through 33.
We could read the whole chapter.
Yeah, we
You could.
But we're gonna...
I'll be back in a few minutes.
That's right. Go ahead and start with 22 and get to 33.
Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord.
That's me. Oh, okay, good. Carry
For
on.
the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and he is the Savior of the body. Therefore, as the church is subject unto Christ, so let the wives be to their own husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, even as Christ also loved the church and gave himself for it, that he might sanctify and cleanse it with the washing of water by the word, that he might present it to himself a glorious church, not having spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that it should be holy and without blemish. So ought men to love their wives as their own bodies. He that loveth his wife loveth himself. For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church. For we are members of his body, of his flesh, and of his bones. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and shall be joined unto his wife, and they two shall be one flesh. This is a great mystery, but I speak concerning Christ and the church. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife, even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband.
Yes, this is the pinnacle of the marriage verses, right?
Yes.
I mean, you have a lot here that said we're going to break down some of these verses, not all of them, as we go through this. But this is the pinnacle, I think. It's very clear. It's clear. It's right there, right?
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
I wanted to use that shot. That's from Willy Wonka. But anyway, it's clear. It is pretty clear what we're supposed to do. Now, how it plays out, Chuck, is a little bit different, right?
Yeah, it can be complicated.
It can be difficult. It's kind of like we always say. It's easy to do, but difficult or it's easy to. How does it say? I forget how we say it, but it's sometimes there's things that are easy to do, but it's not actually easy to play out or something like that. You know, does that make any
Easier
sense?
to say than it is to do.
Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure.
Let's just move on.
Okay.
So the number one, the thing that as a man, as a husband, that we are to do is obviously to lead.
Right.
He is to lead, right?
First role. Is to
First
lead.
role, right. So that can mean many different things, though. A lot of people probably have in their mind what it means to lead. Now, once again, we go back to our clarification of what the scriptures teach. We don't want culture. We don't want any of those things to determine how we lead. So society, our culture, I forget some of those other things we pointed out last episode, but those things are going to influence us. There's no doubt about it. But we try as much as possible to don't let those things influence us and let the Word of God influence us. So what do we have here under lead? We have first.
So, like we said last time, and that this is where 1 Corinthians 11:3 comes in. The husband is the head of the wife. It doesn't.
Yes.
God doesn't command us to be the leader.
We are.
He says we are the leader.
Yes.
Right.
So whether you like it or not, babe, I am the leader, right?
Okay.
Yes. So go ahead and read 1 Corinthians 11:3 for our listeners.
But I would have you know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of the woman is the man, and the head of Christ is God.
And we covered this last week on that particular verse about the leadership. But like you said, it's not a commandment that we are the leaders. We are. So, guys, you need to take this seriously. If you're out there and you're shirking your responsibility, it is your duty to lead. I don't care if it's hard, if it's easy, or if your wife's making it difficult. You are to lead.
It doesn't matter if you're a good leader or a bad leader. You are a leader.
That's right.
You know, it depends on how you embrace the role.
Yep. You are going to lead one way or the other. That's for sure. So what do we have here? 1 Peter 3:7.
Likewise, ye husbands, dwell with them according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife as unto the weaker vessel, and as being heirs together of the grace of life, that your prayers be not hindered.
Yeah, this is a great verse, actually. I think a lot of guys don't want to read this verse. But the reason I put this verse in here was that we're to dwell with them according to knowledge. Oh, now, I'll put you on the spot there, Chuck. Like, what do you think that means to you?
That was difficult to me, Mike. I really don't have a clear picture. I'll be honest with you.
Okay.
According to knowledge, what that actually means.
Okay, now I just kind of took it very simple in that I have to know my wife. So
Okay.
just on that basic level. And guess how you get to know your wife? You've got to spend time.
Yep.
You've got
Lots
to.
of time.
Yes, you got to communicate with her. I know.
You got to dwell with them.
Yes, yes. Honestly, yeah, to dwell. You have to live with them. You have to understand what they like. That is not always easy. Sometimes you don't care. Well, you should care. You know. Did you read this one already?
I did. I just read that one, and you said you were talking about the knowledge part, but the part I like is giving honor unto the wife. You
Oh,
didn't
yes.
really talk about that.
I like that part.
I like that part.
I was getting to the next one about the weaker vessel. But
Of course you were.
no, but giving, so there's a lot here. I mean, according to knowledge, we dwell with them according to knowledge. So you know them by living with them, being with them, you get a knowledge of them. And that's a good thing. That, hopefully we don't use that against them. I want to know my wife just in the same way that the more important goals in Christianity, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I guess, is to know Christ.
Yes.
That is like the ultimate is to know my Savior. I want to know Him. And knowing Him more and more is the driving force in my life. I want to know Christ more.
Yeah.
In the same way, I want to know my wife more and more. And I'm intrigued by what's in her mind, what her thinking is, what her thoughts are. I want to enter into that. I want to know more about her. And as we get older and older, you might think, well, you've learned everything. Be surprised. People are weird, man. There's always things to learn about people.
I'm gonna jump in there on that one because it's interesting to me. I get to see Mike and Sarah all the time now, and be able to be around them. And Mike is a lot different from other guys in this way. Okay, and I don't say that funny. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny there. He really means what he just said.
Okay.
I mean, he really does want to know Sarah and understand her. And,
Yes.
and that's some of you guys out there listening, that might be somewhat of a little foreign concept to you to really understand and know your wife.
Right.
But it's a challenge. I mean, you should
can
do
be.
that.
Yes.
And getting to understand that to me, the wife, that's one of the needs she has is that you understand her.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. And I think even and I'll just open myself. Maybe I'm a little bit more emotional than most guys. I don't know. I don't sit there and cry all over, but I do get into my feelings somewhat, and people are like, Mike, you're too feelings. But I do, as growing up, when I was a kid, my desire, and I'm just opening up here real quick, so people can know me just a little bit, but my desire was that people would understand me. Like I want someone out there to know who I am. My parents only could know me so much. They were my parents. They told me what to do. I would get in trouble, and I could talk with them somewhat, but I wanted people to know who I was. And so friends of mine would help a little bit, but there wasn't that. There was like another level that I was missing. And when I met Sarah, I was like, this is exactly what I needed. This is what I want. I need someone to understand me, and I want to understand someone else in that way. And so that is a very important. I know maybe it comes easier to me, maybe. I don't know. But if you do struggle with this, work on it because it'll change your life.
Yep.
Getting to know, I know guys, communication is a big deal. We don't know how to communicate with our wives at times, but work on it. That's all right. We have a lifetime.
Right.
to
The
work
only
on
way
it.
you can work on communication is to talk.
Right. That's right.
Pretty much.
That's right.
This
Do
is where
it.
you talk about you start with the elementary school and then you work your way up to high school and college, ever learning, and they talk about that in Fireproof. And you go on to get
Oh,
your
yeah,
college
that's right.
degree.
That's
and
right. That's
go
right.
on to get your doctorate.
You got to keep studying her. Don't
Right.
just you feel like when you get married her like we've accomplished it. No, and that was only the beginning.
Right.
You're in elementary school. You got to keep going.
Yeah.
Well, this verse is according to knowledge, giving honor unto the wife. Now, honor. What do you think about that, Chuck?
Well, I think it shows in God's design how we're to treat. So
Yes.
when the wife is told to be in subjection to her husband in all things, the balance of that for the husband, the man here, is he's to show honor to his wife.
Yes.
So God creates a balance here of what you do. We're not lording over.
Right.
As we said before in a previous podcast, being an authority doesn't make us superior.
Right.
So giving honor to the wife as the weaker vessel.
Well, in honoring, and I know I've told you this a lot of times, babe, and you kind of are tired of it maybe. I don't know, maybe you're not. But I keep telling you, I think women have the most important job on the face of the earth. Now, I know that's not necessarily true because I know God has given guys the responsibility of leadership, but their role and what they do in society, raising up godly children. Now, I know I'm part of that also, but for the most part, the women are going to be the more influential part, but the influence that they can have on souls from the very moment they're born to the time they move out of the house, and even beyond that, honestly, is tremendous, to the point where in Proverbs 31:28, the children rise up and call her blessed. And we're to praise her. And there was another verse, you don't have it here, that I wanted to put down, and I guess it got missed. It wasn't on here, but we're supposed to honor our mother. We should teach our children to honor our mother because she is worthy of it. Yeah. You are worthy of that honor. Right. So giving honor unto her as unto the weaker vessel. Now, I don't know if we want to tackle this too much, but it's in the Bible, and we will talk about it. But in the way that a weaker vessel, not that she is, obviously physically.
Physically, yes.
She is weaker.
Right.
But is she supposed to, is our wives, and I'm speaking to you because, you're right here, babe. Are you supposed to take all the bullets and the arrows and the shots and being out there leading? Maybe because you're more emotional? I don't know. I don't want to put stereotypes here. But what do you think about that?
Well, I think women are definitely more susceptible to a lot out there. Eve obviously gave in right away in the garden, and it just seems like women tend to be more easily deceived, right. And things just that, I don't know, I find so many times when things are difficult for me or for the girls, I'll say, go ask you, and it's like things are just simple for you.
I know, that's a shame.
And so I feel like we are weaker in a sense, and I know that's a terrible word and people don't like the sound of that, but I just feel like we are weaker, and that's why we have men, that's why we have husbands and fathers that help lead.
I guess, and I don't want to tackle this one too much. I don't want to focus on the weaker part because I do want to honor you, and as it says, and as being heirs together in the grace of life. We are heirs together. We got to remember that. Right. That your prayers be not hindered. Think about that. There's a lot of guys out there that are wondering why their prayers are not being answered. Well, dwell with your woman with knowledge, giving honor unto her. Start doing some of these things, and you'd be surprised at what happens. Yeah. Maybe your prayers will be not hindered. Okay, so I think we covered that one out. But okay, so we're talking leadership here, Chuck. There's a couple things I wanted to talk about, and you never heard this term before.
No, we're going to hit a term here that I wasn't familiar with.
Right. You could probably figure it out, but the term, okay, so in America, we like to take terms like leadership and then put adjectives right before it, like spiritual leader and servant leadership, and that's what we're going to be talking about. For one, spiritual leader. If Larry was here, he'd be like, "Yes, amen. I want to talk about this."
Larry.
Yeah, Larry will be joining us hopefully soon. But Larry likes this. He doesn't like this part about being spiritual leader. Like when Cade and Sharon got married, he realized that during the vows, Cade, not picking on you, Cade, sorry, but Cade did say, "I will promise to be the spiritual leader." Now, whether he is acting what he says is spiritual, he is the spiritual leader.
He is.
He's acting the spiritual leader. You're saying, well, my husband's not even saved. Well, he's still the spiritual leader.
Yep.
He is leading the home. He is the head of the home, and he is leading it. Now, he's probably leading it in a bad way, the spiritually bad, but the spiritual leader. So hopefully you understand that. Spiritual leader is not in the Bible, but as a leader, I should be spiritual. So in some of those areas, I should pray for.
We're going to see here in a little bit when we look at another role that we should be teachers.
Yes, that's it.
Part of being a spiritual leader is teaching and the other pieces we have here. But yeah, the term spiritual leader doesn't exist in the Bible.
Right.
But yeah, as a leader, we should be spiritual.
We should be spiritually minded, and we should lead spiritually. But regardless, we are.
Yes.
If I'm in a bad place, I'm leading my family in a negative way. So that's going to show itself. But we should pray for our wives, and we should be godly example. But I want to get into...
So what's about the servant leadership?
Yeah, so servant leadership.
I didn't know that one. I was sitting going over the notes last night, and I got to that, and I was like, oh, what is that?
I am surprised you've never heard this.
I haven't heard
that. That is so bizarre, because this is so flooded in all... When you're studying marriage especially, Servant leadership comes up everywhere. And I guess maybe I study ecclesiology a lot more. Once again, it's in there too. So servant leadership came from a guy named Robert Greenleaf. In 1970, he wrote a thing for business. He was trying to do something for business, a business model, how to do leadership. He was like not MacArthur. Who's that leadership guru guy? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, John MacArthur.
Is it John MacArthur? No, not John. But there was like a specific leadership guy.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, but I forget his name. Yeah, it doesn't
don't
matter.
know.
We'll flash his name on this TV screen if.
I'm pretty sure it's John MacArthur. I've heard him speak.
Well, John MacArthur, he's good, but Maxwell. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm sorry. It is John Maxwell.
John Maxwell.
Yeah, okay.
Maxwell.
You're right.
Maxwell.
Right. Maxwell.
So he's the leadership like guru, right? Well, this guy was like a leadership type guy who gives speeches on this, and he came up with this thing called spiritual servant leadership, where the idea is you have to get down with your people and you serve your people, which sounds good on paper, and it hasn't in corporate America. It hasn't really been proved out if that really works. You should do it, but here's the problem I have. Well, this is what you found on the internet right here, isn't it?
Yeah, so I went looking. I said, well, what does this mean? I have no idea what this means, but this is actually straight from Greenleaf. A servant leader focuses primarily on the growth and well-being of people and the communities to which they belong. While traditional leadership generally involves the accumulation of an exercise of power by one at the top of the pyramid, servant leadership is different. The servant leader shares power, puts the needs of others first, and helps people develop and perform as highly as possible. So it sounds good, right?
Yeah, it sounds good. And actually, I don't have a problem necessarily with parts of this. Like, I do think as part of leadership, once again, we have an adjective. Like,
Right.
leadership is multifaceted. I don't have a problem with part of it being a servant.
We should serve.
There's a time, yes, where I'm going to be serving. The problem I have is like what we talked about earlier. When I say servant, what do you think of?
I think of two things, basically,
Okay,
what
right.
I said. One was the idea of an employee, a servant, someone who is required, has responsibilities and duties to perform for whoever is employing them.
Do the will of another.
You're doing the will of another.
Right.
The other one, the other idea of a servant is where I am choosing to actually look at somebody else who has a need or has a desire and serve them in that capacity.
Yes.
So it's me choosing to do that instead of being required to.
Absolutely. And we know that Jesus was a servant. He came to serve. Actually, he came to minister, as we found out. And so he had obviously he had a servant's heart. He was the humble servant, but he's also the king. So there is a dynamic with Jesus that in heaven right now, he is not a humble servant. He is the King of Kings. Right. And so there is a time for us to be that humble servant. Now, am I to do the will of my wife? Like that first definition that you gave. No, I'm not doing the will of another. The only person I need to do the will of is the will of my Father, Christ, Jesus, God the Father. I want to do His will.
Right. And there again, we go back to that concept that we're given a free will to choose.
Right.
So it's a choice that we're making. It's the second that I talked about where we're choosing
to have that attitude.
To have the attitude of servanthood.
Right. And so when I have that attitude to serve God and to want to do what He says, whatever it is, you benefit from this. I'm pointing to Sarah. So
yeah, absolutely.
She benefits from this, and that is where, yes, do I want to serve my family? Yes, absolutely. In all these things, how do I love my wife is to lead, and part of this leading is at times to be a servant. I need to show the example. I need to be an example to my family. I need to lead in that role of sometimes the dirty work needs to be done and it's going to be me. And sometimes, no, you need to do the dirty work, Joshua. Sorry, you're just going to have to do this. Jeremiah, get over there and do that. And I need to do something else. But there are those times. So I'm not totally against servant leadership. It has its place. I'm not totally against it. But if that's your only form of leadership, so you're just focused on, I need to be a servant, who are you serving?
Right.
God
this
or your
relationship.
Wife? Right.
Right.
You shouldn't be serving your wife. You need to be leading her, and you need to have that servant's heart. Are you here for your wife, or is your wife here for you? According to the Scriptures, your wife is here for you. She is your helpmeet. And I know that sounds very archaic, just saying it like that.
Very.
Yeah. But
I mean, it's all good. It's true, but it does sound, it sounds bad in today's world to say, well, I'm here for you, not you here for me.
Right.
But it's,
Right.
that's the truth.
Yeah. So leadership starts from the top.
yes.
First, you have to be a man that is submitted to God, who's the authority over you.
Absolutely. Go ahead and read Matthew 8:9, and then we'll talk about that.
Okay, it says, "For I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me, and I say to this man, go, and he goeth, and to another, come, and he cometh, and to my servant, do this, and he doeth it."
We talked about this last week,
Right.
and this was about authority. But once again, it's the authority comes from top. There is an authority structure, and if you need to watch that one about divine order and authority, go back and listen to that one. I am a man under authority, having soldiers under me. They know. So I know what it's like to be under authority. So now I know what I can do to be in authority.
Yes.
The example that I would give is my boss, and hopefully he's not watching, but I've worked with my boss for like 22 years, and he's a great boss. But there are times that he drives us crazy, just with lack of communication or things like that. And I'm going to be taking over here pretty soon as boss. And my son and some other employees are like, "You're not going to be the same, are you?" And I'm saying, "No, because I know what it's like. I've been in that position. So I want to change some of those things. I'm not going to be perfect at it, but because I can sympathize with it, I know what it's like to be in authority and under authority and not being able to change that. Well, now that I'm in authority, I can change some of those things. But anyway, the leadership starts at the top. And you have to be a man first submitted to God. That is key. That is the first thing and probably the most important thing.
Yeah, that's what we said first. Without Jesus, none of this works.
Right. Without Jesus, you have to be fully submitted before God. If you're not fully submitted before God, why would you expect your wife to submit to you? Honestly. Now, she should. We'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
She should, regardless of what you're doing, but make it easy on her. You do your job and be fully submitted to God.
So you got some examples of sports talking about coaches and their players, how they adjust.
Yes. So you watch some sports.
I do.
Okay. Throughout your life, you've watched a little bit. You've heard how some coaches just have their way.
Yes.
Doesn't matter their players. You're going to play this way.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a specific basketball coach right now.
Bobby Knight?
Yes.
Yeah. As I say, I grew up in Indiana, and Bobby Knight was that guy. He was like, you are playing my way, and I'm going to make you into a certain mold of player. There are certain coaches that will look at what they have and adjust their coaching style and be
Yes.
like, okay, I don't have a bunch of 6'10" guys. I have a bunch of 6'4" guys. Looks like we're going to be shooting threes, guys. And so is one better than the other? Nah, not necessarily. But what I'm saying is that we have examples of different types of leaderships, and I do think that as a coach, I think the best way, me personally, is the one that can adjust.
I would think so.
Right.
I think they're going to be more successful.
You would think, even though Bob Knight was
He was very successful,
he was
you're right.
successful, but he was also a jerk. And but if you can adjust with what you have and be like, okay, let's see what we got here. Let's adjust with how my kids are. My kids aren't your kids. My kids aren't. Our situation is going to be
the
different.
family. The first kid isn't the second kid, isn't the third kid.
That's right.
Everybody
Yeah.
is different.
That's right. So you have to learn how to adjust. So that's why I threw out that example with sports.
So yeah, so the first role we'd talk about is the leader.
Right.
The man is supposed to be the leader. So how do you lead? What is it? How are you doing, guys? I mean, are you being a good leader or a bad leader? Doesn't matter if you're saying you're not a leader. That's not true. God says
You are the leader.
are a leader.
That's right.
You are the leader. Not a command to be a leader. God says you are a leader. So
Yep.
second role we're going to talk about is love.
And we're going to take a break, though.
Yep, I was going to say that.
Okay. That's fine.
So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about how should we love our wife.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. This is the Mike Charleston Show.
All right, we are back, and we're going to do a little fun segment here. Take a break from our conversation about the authority and divine order and marriage and whatever we're talking about. This is what we're going to take a little break, and it's time for a little game. But we're joined here Jeannie's on. If you're watching on YouTube, this is Jeannie's first. This is Chuck's wife, Jeannie. So she's all the way over here, and we have Chuck and Sarah, obviously. So we're going to be doing a game because it is now time for. And now it's time for the only one difference is that Abigail is not joining us. Rebecca, my daughter, is joining us today. Rebecca, why don't you say hi?
Hello, everyone.
So what do we got here, Rebecca? What do you have for us? You put this together for us, so we'll go ahead.
Okay, so this is a game for, it's a newlywed question game. So
Can't look at us.
I'm going to start with questions for the guys, and then we're going to match them with the answers that the girls already gave, and then we'll do vice versa for the girls.
Okay. Thank you, Evan. Call me while I'm on YouTube. All right.
Okay, you guys ready?
Sure. Why not? Are you guys ready?
We're ready.
Yeah. Why not? This should be good. Joshua, I think maybe that music is a little loud. I don't know. What do you think? First, we gotta test our little. If I got it right, because this is what we're gonna be hearing a lot of, right?
That's
Not
right.
this. Oh, we do have that.
Am I right?
Yeah, there we go. Okay, yeah. All right. What are you gonna ask first?
Okay, so the first question is for the guys. Who would win in an eating contest?
Between what? Like
Between you and your spouse.
an eating contest? Well, hopefully me, Mike. Hopefully I would, and not you. Is that what you said, babe?
That is what I said.
Yeah. All right, Chuck.
That one's pretty obvious, right? You look and see, I'm not a pretty healthy guy, so it's going to be me.
Am I right or am I right or am I right?
And that's what I said.
Yeah. All
Right or
right.
am I right?
All right. That was an easy one.
Yeah, it's a good warm up.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is for the girls. Who is more emotional?
I am a woman, so I'm going to have to go with me, of course.
I said yes, indeed. She is.
I definitely would be the more emotional one of the two of us.
Yeah, I think I've actually said that on the show already, right?
So that was a couple easy ones. We got the easy ones right off the bat, even though I think there's a couple more easy ones.
Yeah, there's a couple more.
All right.
This one is for the guys again. Who has the worst handwriting?
Oh my. This is a tough one for me because if I do a good job, Sarah thinks I have like the best handwriting in the world. But I don't. So I'm going to say that Sarah has the better handwriting.
That is what I said, even though I disagree, but I know we've talked about it before.
But that is what you said?
That is what I said. So, yay!
Am I right or am I right or am I
Man, I thought we were actually going to get ahead on that one. You were beginning to stumble.
I know, I was worried there.
There's not even a question on this side of the table. It's definitely mine is the worst handwriting.
Well, I actually put that his is the worst handwriting because he says that all the time, but all the love letters I got when you were in the military and I was in college, it's just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. I love your handwriting.
Yeah. But Rebecca's looking at it. She can tell you of the four that's up there, mine's the worst.
No, I don't know. I don't know about that. All right, we got another question.
Okay, this one's for the girls.
Ladies.
Who is the funniest?
Oh my goodness. Definitely him.
Yes, this one is very easy. I make Sarah laugh. Actually, she makes me laugh a lot, but yes, that's what I said. Yep, me.
So I'm supposed to answer this one?
Yes.
Yeah, who's
Well,
the funniest, babe?
Well, I do mom jokes, and
That is true.
so and I have a sense of humor that's pretty, I guess, dry maybe or whatever. I try to make puns, and I usually get eye rolls from my family, but every now and then I make Chuck chuckle. So I think I would be the funniest.
Oh,
And I said that she is the funniest because she
Wow.
absolutely loves to make puns, even though they're not very funny. But
wow, very good.
Okay, so the next question is for the guys. What is your spouse's ideal vacation?
Our spouse's ideal vacation. Well, my wife's ideal vacation would be one we did not too long ago, I guess, would make sure the family's with us. You want all the family with you, up in the mountain somewhere in a cabin where she probably wouldn't go hiking and stuff, but just get a cabin up in the mountain somewhere.
That's what I said, a cabin in the mountains.
Yes.
Baby steps.
Oh, not that one.
Baby steps.
Baby steps.
All
All right,
right,
so this
Chuck.
was for me, right?
Yes.
So my wife's ideal vacation, while she loves being around her family, the idea of being able to have time just to relax and get away is something she really enjoys as well. So, we could go both ways on whether she wants to have the family with her on our ideal vacation, but she loves the sand and the beach and
The beach.
and the to be able to listen to the waves. So I'm going to say the beach.
Well, I kind of messed that one up because I
Uh-oh.
thought I said the mountains because I was thinking that was for what your ideal vacation was.
Oh no!
So we pull ahead.
Yes, so sorry, babe. But I would have said if it were for me, I would have said the beach because we just discussed this recently, actually.
So you were thinking about yourself.
I was thinking about what
She was
his.
thinking about
Oh, you're
She
thinking
was,
about
Yeah,
yourself.
she
That's
was
right.
thinking of him.
Well, that
And
was
would
the,
that have been right? The mountains, right for you, babe? Huh, Chuck?
Yes.
Yes.
They would have
Yeah.
been the mountains.
So they kind of got it right, but not.
Yeah, we'll give him a half a point maybe.
We got it wrong, but we got it right.
Yes, you got it right in the real place. All right, Rebecca.
Okay, the next question for the ladies. If money were no object, where would you live together?
If money was no option, where would we live?
Oh wow.
I thought this one would be easy.
I'm gonna say here.
Unbelievable. That's not what you always say.
I don't know where we would live.
Well, this is what I said. I said anywhere where I am, she would
Okay,
want to be.
yeah.
But if not that, our ideal vacation somewhere in the mountains somewhere she would love to live.
Yeah,
But
that's pretty good.
evidently-
Yeah. Okay, we lose.
All right, we got a chance here.
Well, I'm kind of nervous on this one because we've discussed if we ever moved, not that we're planning to, but if we ever moved, where would we go? And we have discussed the mountains. So do we have to give a date or just a location?
Well, I know the
would
state.
say mountains that's not like steep mountains where there's some valleys and, maybe Kentucky, North Carolina. That's my answer. It doesn't need to be more specific.
No.
One or the other.
What did you say, Chuck?
Well, what I said was based off of a conversation we had many years ago.
Uh-oh.
That whenever I actually finished school, we had two young children at that time, and we were actually trying to decide what are we going to do. Because at that point, I had nothing holding us from doing whatever we wanted to, and we came to the conclusion this is a really good place to raise a family. So I said we'd leave right where we were.
Oh, wow.
That's true. Yeah, I thought you meant if we were moving.
Yeah.
I didn't say if we were moving.
So the girls were very practical. They want to, well, actually, Jeannie wanted to move out to the mountains, and you wanted
Yeah.
to stay right here.
I just want to be with you.
I appreciate that. All right,
I
we
would
both
not
got
move
that.
to the mountains without Chuck.
That's right. That's right. All right, where are we at, Rebecca?
Now, if we had to pick somewhere else that we couldn't stay where we are today, probably the mountains.
Yeah, in North
Yeah.
Carolina,
Yeah,
right?
North Carolina.
Okay, the next question for the guys. When did you know that they were the one?
Okay. This one's an easy one for me. This one's kind of a crazy one. So the first day I went on a walk with her, when I walked with her, I knew I wanted to marry her, and I had to wait 5 days to ask her though. But it was that first night when I walked on her. That's when I knew.
When you walked on me.
When I didn't walk on it, when I walked with you. Yes. Come on, what did come on, I want to know what you think. What'd you say?
I said on that first Monday when we went for a walk.
Yeah.
Which, yes, is very crazy, but yeah,
Very
that's the
crazy, but that's
story.
when I knew.
All right,
Chuck.
so I didn't propose 5 days in, so
I
it makes it
appreciate
a little bit more difficult. But
Baby
I think I
steps.
got this one. I think I know what the
Baby
answer is
steps.
going to be. So, they say absence makes the heart grow fonder. So whenever I left to go into the military and we were away, it was at that point it was like this is the one I'm definitely going to spend the rest of my life with. I think we both got there pretty quick then. This is the way.
And that's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Okay, I don't know what the score is at this point. Joshua's going to keep track, but I think we're up by one.
Or half,
Or
depending
half?
on how we scored
Yeah,
the one.
Yeah, right. All right, what do we got there?
What is your first memory of your spouse?
What is this? So this was what I would have said about you.
Yes.
What was
your
my
first memory?
What
your
was my
first
first
memory
memory of you?
Oh,
Yeah, what do you think my
Wow.
first memory of you was?
Oh, that is tough.
It was tough.
Is this the one you were struggling with,
Yeah,
Chuck?
I was struggling with
Chuck was struggling downstairs for a while.
That was a music group. The artist.
This one I was struggling
What
with a
was
little
your
bit.
first memory of me?
Oh, come on, I want to know what you think.
I honestly have no idea. I'm going to have to say.
This is the one where I was like, it might be inappropriate, but I changed it. So.
Okay.
But not that kind of inappropriate. Never mind.
Just seeing me in class in school.
Well, that was part of it, right, Rebecca? I did say going over to your parents' house after church on
Thought about
Sunday,
that, yeah.
Or in school when I saw you in school. But my original thing was just you hanging out with Glenn. But that's inappropriate. Okay, we're moving on. Anyway, so did I get that right or did I get it wrong? They gotta make.
That counts because you did put it down.
Oh, okay, that's what happens when you say things a lot.
Wait,
Okay.
you got two answers?
I know, right?
And one of them was right.
Well, that means I can give more than one answer. So I would probably have to say either band or class in school. That's when we first met or got to know each other.
And I said band practice.
Band practice.
right.
Yeah.
Am I right or am I right?
All right.
Okay, for the guys. If they had to take one thing to a deserted island, what would they take?
So this is for us?
Yes.
Like, what would we take?
No, what would your spouse take?
Oh.
But the question was for them. So were you answering for us? Rebecca, I think you messed this one up.
Oh.
No, it's good.
Okay, so what would you
Answer's
take?
good. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what would you take on a deserted island? Is this like including, like, besides the Bible?
Just one thing.
Sarah would probably say her Bible.
No, I didn't say
Wow.
that. I know. That'd be a good thing to take, but I said you.
Oh, come on. That doesn't count. That doesn't count. You can't. Oh, my goodness.
All right,
Sorry.
That's
so
sweet.
before answering this question, we got to make sure the answer was, did you answer what I would take or did you answer what you would take?
I did. I answered what you would take.
What I would take. So at least we'll get it the right way here. What would I take? I'd take you, babe. I'd take you, babe.
That's what I said.
This is cheap.
Next to that, I would have said
Well,
a
Rebecca,
knife.
the way you answer those questions, ask those questions, it's confusing.
Hey, we caught up. Okay,
Well,
we're
I
good.
think
Yeah, that
either
one
way,
was.
if
Well, I
I'm
think
answering for you
maybe
or
it's
me.
the people she's working with that are confused.
Okay. For the ladies, who said I love you first?
Oh. That would have been you.
That would have been me. Someone had to do it, and I said it. I think when I asked you to marry me,
Yeah, I think so.
but yeah.
I don't really know, but I would guess it would have been Chuck.
Well, I didn't know either for sure, but I said me.
Oh, wow.
Okay, we got a match.
All right, we are doing well. We're almost done here. If you're listening, you just hold on.
Okay. For the guys, would your partner say that you're the type of person who likes to try new things or stick to their guns?
Oh, this is so bizarre.
Well, I can take it first then because this one's
Okay,
easy
if you
for
think
me.
you- okay, go ahead.
Because I know she's going to say stick to my guns.
Right, but I was mixed up again. I thought it meant what you would think I would think. So I said try new things. But if I would have been thinking you, I would have said stick to your guns. So.
Rebecca, we're messing this up. I would definitely say I like the same things over and over.
That's what I said.
Yep.
Am I right or am I right or am I right?
Okay, for the ladies, has your spouse ever cried during a movie?
Yes.
Yes, I have. I hide it very well, but she had. Well, yes, it was. I thought it was for her.
Well, either way,
Either
we both
way,
cried, so it doesn't
yes.
matter.
I thought I was answering for her, but
Okay,
The
rarely.
question was for us, has your spouse? So it would
Right.
Be, yeah, that's what we would answer.
it would have
so-
been. The question you said was for her. That was your spouse, but
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
yes, I've cried during a movie, but if it's for him, probably, but rarely.
Yep.
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes, because he
That's
answered for
answer
you. So, yes, yes. Okay, so who won? We don't know yet. All
So
right.
you get
Nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Oh, I hope it's not that bad, But anyway, no, I hope you guys enjoyed this little thing. It was a little fun. Jeannie, I hope you enjoyed it. Your first time on the show.
Yes, I very much did.
Yeah, so hopefully, I don't know what the score is. We messed it up in the middle because of the way the questions were. We didn't quite understand them, I guess. But I think that was fun. So anyway, okay, so when we come back, we're going to talk about the biblical roles of a husband. We'll get out of here and we'll come back.
Thank you for listening to The Mike Charleston Show.
And we are back, and I hope you guys enjoyed that. That was fun to do, that game. At least I hope it worked out, and we'll see how it works out in the edit. So it was fun. Okay, so what do we have here, Chuck? You were talking about number 2.
Yeah, so we covered the first role of the man or the husband, and that would be to lead. You are the leader. The second one we were talking about is love.
Right there, love. Right there. It's in a coffee cup. To love your wife. So
how do we do that?
Well, so this was hard to put in a certain order because all this is really talking about love. All this encompasses love. It encompasses love. Leading, loves her. Teaching her, loves her. I mean, all these things are part of love. But let's talk about love. What is love your wife? So how? Like Christ loved the church in Ephesians 5, like what you just read there.
Right. Yeah.
That is what we're like Christ. How does Christ love the church? That is the question. That's how we're to love our wives. That's a big ouch.
Yeah.
That's a big humbling moment if you're a man. If you're out there, look at Christ's example and how he gave himself for the church, how he died for the church, what he was willing to do for the church, and that's our example. Yikes. That's tough.
It is tough. And it's important to keep our perspective and focus on what that looks like.
Right.
That picture is there for a reason, so that we don't overstep our authority.
Yep.
So that we don't, because what happens if you overstep your authority, Mike, with your wife?
You can get in trouble. That's for sure.
It's usually not good.
No, it's not. And I think every man has done that at some point in his life or has made a mistake. There's no doubt about that. We are not Jesus. That is the unfortunate thing. Well, unfortunate, but like we submit ourselves to a perfect being, God. They submit themselves to an imperfect being.
Very imperfect, right?
That is tough.
Yeah.
Is it tough sometimes?
Well, I don't know if I
Put you
can
on the
answer
spot?
that right now. But I will
No.
say this is when I feel like I'm glad that my duty is to submit, which we'll get into next week. But I feel like that's the easier one when I read
Really?
something like, well, when I see that you're supposed to love like Christ loved the church, that's a pretty high bar.
It's a high bar, but because we know no one can do it, sometimes we just say,
Lower the bar.
Yeah, that's right. Lower it a
Nobody
little bit.
can.
But it says, let's say, what does that look like? You look at the example of Christ, and we don't have enough time here to show all the instances of how Christ loved. But if you're a Christian out there, you can go ahead and read the stories of Christ. You can read the stories on how he loved the body of the church, and start to implement some of those things. It is not easy. It is. That's why we need to be fully submitted to God. And God, whatever you will, not my will. Like Jesus said in the Garden of Gethsemane. You think about that. A lot of people don't pay attention to this, but Jesus and God are one, right? However, they both have two different wills. Think about that. Two different wills. The Father had a will, and Jesus had a will. And he said, not my will, your will be done. And in the same way, it's like, not my will, your will be done, Father. And so I have a will on this earth. And sometimes it's very selfish. And I have to deny that and say, no, what is good for my family? What is good for my wife? What is good for my neighbors? What is good for society? What is good for the church? What is good for all these things? I need to follow the will of the Father.
Yeah, the decisions that we make as leaders, so we're called to make that decision. We're called to bear that responsibility. But we also need to consider, how does this impact my wife?
Yep.
How is it going to impact my children and my family? And guys, I would encourage you to realize what you have in your wife as giving you advice.
Yes.
Oftentimes, I think guys just brush off advice from the
Yep.
wife. Yeah, they listen, but they may not actually hear.
Yep.
But it takes, for me anyway, it took a long time for me to realize that, God created my wife as an emotional being, somebody who has a different perspective and a different view of things just because how they approach a situation.
Sure.
And I have a different, so we come at it from a different point of view. Guys usually just want to fix it.
Yep. Pretty
Okay,
much.
we want a solution to a problem and we want to fix it.
Yep.
Women aren't like that. Women look at it and they first of all, they want to be understood.
Yes.
But you guys, you can listen to, if you listen to your wife and what she has to say about a situation or whatever problem you may be facing or just how you handle your family, you will gain something from them that you can't get elsewhere
Right.
because you
Absolutely.
don't have that emotional makeup that they possess.
Right.
So be careful to listen. Not necessarily doing what they say. I'm not saying that
Right.
at all. I'm not saying that, I'm just going to, my wife told me to do it, so I'm here.
Right.
Okay, but,
That's right.
but-
Inside joke.
But you need to listen. You actually will gain a lot by listening to your wife and considering what she has to say.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah,
all the ladies right now are cheering, I'm sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, you got to understand that your wife is a human, and sometimes I joke with my wife, and I'm like, "Wow, you are really a human, and you're not just a robot." But anyway, 1 Corinthians 7:33. What does that say, babe?
It says, "But he that is married careth for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife."
Now, it doesn't say we care for worldly things. We care of things of the world, which means because we're married, we want to please our wife. And in doing so, it's not that our whole lives are to please her. Hopefully she's godly and she is godly. Sarah's godly. But we're not just here to please her, but there are times I have to consider her needs, like you just said.
Yeah.
And this is going to irritate her. I want to please her in certain things. If I can do it, like if she likes a certain thing, why not? Whatever. It's
Yeah.
fine. I need to care for the things of the world, not worldly things, but things of the world. If that makes any sense. The
Yeah, it
difference.
does. I mean, we're thinking more of in a physical nature of what the physical needs might be or what their desires might
Sure.
be and we need to be able to be considerate of that and be able to provide and that as much as we can to be able to please our wife.
Absolutely.
Doesn't
No.
hurt anything to be able to please your wife.
No, it's actually a plus.
Yeah.
If you could do that. Pleasing your wife is
can get
very
a good
important. And
return.
Chuck added this verse in at the very last second there, Deuteronomy 24:5.
Leviticus. What is that?
Leviticus, Deuteronomy.
When a man hath taken a new wife, he shall not go out to war, neither shall he be charged with any business, but he shall be free at home 1 year, and shall cheer up his wife which he hath taken.
Now we actually knew a couple who actually did this.
Yeah.
He took a whole year off of work and just pleased his wife. And this is kind of like another pleasing your wife and cheer up her wife, as it has it here.
Cheer up your wife. Yeah, it's interesting to me that the law actually had this within it, so that you think of a young man at this time in age, he was actually more than likely going to be in the military. He was going to be fighting for Israel, and at this point, if he's going to get married, the law actually says, "Don't go out to war.
Yep.
Don't go fight. Don't worry about business.
Yeah.
Take a year. Be free at home to cheer up your wife."
Yeah, I'm all for that. That is nice. Where was that when I was getting married? I didn't see that. But
Well, I think it also points out how important that first year is too.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
That first year when you're really getting to know one another, it'd be interesting, Kate and Sharon, to sit down and talk sometime soon just to see how is it to get to know each other.
Yes.
Because
Right.
whenever you think you know somebody and then you get married, you find out you don't know what
That's
you
right.
thought you knew.
Yep.
That's right.
And that's fun. It actually is. That first year has challenges in it, but you look back on it and you say, oh, that was really interesting.
Yes.
It was a good time to get to know.
Absolutely. And so part of loving, now I put this in the notes, you don't have it over there, so sorry, Chuck, but is praising her. And this is a huge one, praising her. Now we have Proverbs 31:28.
It says, her children arise up and call her blessed, her husband also, and he praiseth her.
This is important to encourage your children to honor her. We covered that last episode, or was it last segment?
Yeah, it was last
I
segment.
can't remember. To praise your wife is huge. Now, I am not very good at this. I'll be honest. I praise my wife when she's not around.
Oh.
Yeah, like
I was going to say, you are good at that.
well, I know, but I'm good. I'm really good behind her back. Like I talk, I praise her behind her back, and I do in front of her at times. But I really do when I'm talking to customers. I like my wife is great. My wife this, my wife that. When I'm talking to friends, my wife this, my wife that. My friends think my wife is awesome because of all that, probably, and because they know her. But I think it's important to praise your wife. Now, it would do me really good if I praised you more in person, and I know I do.
You do.
But I told her the other day. I think you're the greatest person on the face of the earth, like the best person. I mean, I don't know of anyone better than her, but doing good things and just being a good person. She's the best. But anyway, I praised you in public in front of everyone. But this isn't
on
huge.
record
This is huge.
and recorded
That's
for
right.
eternity.
That's right. So don't let me down, babe. Keep it up. No,
I think one thing to point out there, can you praise your wife without being verbal?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I say that because I don't know. Maybe you can. Maybe there is a way, but I say that to point out that guys, you need to say it.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
She needs to be able to hear it. And I'm like you, Mike. I'm not saying I'm good at that.
Right.
I don't know if you could ever actually say you're good. Maybe some guy out there might be willing to say that. I don't know, but guys, she needs to hear it.
I mean, I like to hear it. That's that's probably my love language is words of affirmation, if you know the love languages. And yet I have a hard time doing that. And we need to do that with our wives and encourage our children to do the same and to honor our mothers and praise them and rise up and call her blessed because it is important. That is a good thing. That's part of loving your wife. Now, that you might think, well, loving your wife, number 2, is really short. Once again, all these points are really loving your wife.
Right. They're going to encompass part of loving.
Yes.
So, anything else before we move on to number 3?
Nope. No, I think we're good.
So the third role that we have listed out is that we should teach
Yes.
the wife and the children.
Now, you would think, well, of course, this makes sense, but you know what? You don't take things for granted these days. You got to tell people that teaching. Now, this one is kind of out of context, but I think you understand what we're getting at. 1 Corinthians 14:34 and 35.
Let your women keep silence in the churches, for it is not permitted unto them to speak, but they are commanded to be under obedience, as also saith the law. And if they will learn anything, let them ask their husbands at home, for it is a shame for women to speak in the church.
Okay, this is a weird verse to just talk about. People are like, what are you talking about?
But you're focused on one part, right?
What are you saying? You want them to be quiet and all this stuff? I'm like, well, yes, but okay. Well, the whole point, though, is if they want to learn anything, let them ask their husbands. And so many times today, women are going outside of the home for information. Right. They're listening to sermon audio or they're going to their favorite preachers. They're not going to their husband. And husband, it is our job to teach our families, to teach our wives, to teach. We want to spread our vision, our goals in life, and we need to give that to her, our wives, so that she can give it on to the children. And I'm supposed to do that with the children also, like Deuteronomy 6 talks about. But let me switch pages here. But yeah, so that was the whole point of that verse, was just that if you have a question, ask your husband at home. Now, can a wife ask another person a question? Sure, but the point being is that you teach your wife, you teach your children. It's your responsibility to teach. If you don't have the answer, go find the answer.
Yes,
go seek it out.
Well, this is where sometimes people get into trouble. Like we had talked earlier about Dave Ramsey.
Dave Ramsey. Okay,
And,
yes.
You know, like if I call
point.
up Dave Ramsey because I have a question, and sometimes I may get an answer that you don't agree with.
No, look, I love Dave Ramsey, okay? I was doing Dave Ramsey before I met Dave Ramsey. I didn't actually meet him, but you know what I'm saying, before I started listening to him. And what he has to say, I believe. But as I listen to him sometimes, I wonder if he's causing more problems because he's promoting a message and all these ladies are listening. And then the ladies go home and say, honey, we've got to do this plan. I heard Dave Ramsey say, he said you got to, and the guy's like, I don't agree with that. Well, she's already convinced Dave Ramsey's right and her husband is now wrong. And so what did you just create there? She's wanting to follow Dave Ramsey and not her husband. And even if he explains why he doesn't want to go along with it, she's already convinced. And at that point, Dave Ramsey says, you guys need marital counseling. I'm like, why? Because they need to go with you? He might. It's all right for him to disagree with you if he has his own way of dealing with money. Now, I agree with him. But it's not my place to tell him how to rule his house, and to how to live his life. If he wants debt, so be it. Now, if she really wants something, there is ways he should listen. He should consider, like we just talked about. But I think that, like you were pointing out there, it's causing problems by seeking out other man's opinions other than your husband. Now, I know that's going to sound really weird, but you know what I'm saying? Does that make any sense?
No, it makes sense to me. I think it's pretty clear.
Okay. What do we have here, babe, with this Ephesians 6:4?
And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath, but bring them up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. So obviously you got to teach the kids
right.
too.
This one we
That's
just
part of
teach
it.
our kids. We could have done a couple other ones on teaching the kids, but I think that one is obvious. We should teach our kids.
Yeah. That's a Cameron verse. It's pretty
Yeah,
straightforward.
that's right. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
We know this one. If you're a father, you definitely know this verse. We're not here to talk about teaching our children, but you are a teacher. Whether you like it or not, you are a teacher. You might not be a good one, but guess what? There's some room to grow, and you can be a teacher.
This is where men sometimes can become passive, where
Yes.
a wife has questions and you just kind of go read
Go
something.
read a book.
Right. Go ask the pastor in a lot of churches.
Yes, that is a problem.
And that's not how it should be. It should be that you go and get the answer.
Yeah, and you might have to be delayed. Be like, well, honey, give me some time to look it up, and guess what? There's plenty of helps out there, guys. Go and get some help. It's not that hard. I don't know all the answers, but I'll at least talk about it.
Yeah.
There's no problem in my house. But okay.
All right, so we're going to move to the role number 4 that we have listed here, and that is to provide.
Provide. I think this one's another no doubt one.
Yeah.
Another Cameron verse. If you don't know Cameron, and we won't explain it. Poor Cameron. He's in our Bible study, and that's straightforward. Let's move on. So 1 Timothy 5:8.
But if any provide not for his own, and especially for those of his own house, he hath denied the faith and is worse than an infidel.
Now that's harsh. Yeah.
That's very harsh.
Right. But so we know that we need to provide physically for our spouses, our wives. It's not just a house and a paycheck. It's also security, love, leadership, instruction, protection, all the things that we're talking about we need to provide.
Yeah.
So it's huge.
But this is, again, for ladies, this is for, you should provide needs, not all of our wants. I think sometimes
I
women...
was like, where are you going with that? But
No,
your
sometimes
needs.
women, they feel like, well, my husband doesn't provide because, I don't have all the things that I want.
Right. We don't have the fanciest cars. We don't
Right.
have the best house. You have to be reasonable.
Yeah.
But ladies, we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah.
So provide. So provision is a simple one, right? We would think
Well,
it's natural.
it's simple. It's simple. It's natural. I think. I mean, even somebody who's not a spiritual leader,
Right.
Somebody who's just following after the ways of the world understands this.
Yes.
I think every man understands that it's his responsibility to provide for his wife and his kids.
Absolutely.
This one's pretty common and globally accepted.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's like most guys. If a guy approaches you for his daughter, for his daughter in marriage, the first thing is like, do you have a job? Are you going to take care of my daughter? That's like number one. Are you going to provide? I think that's a God-given thing. We understand we need to provide. So let's move on to number 5.
So The fifth role that we're going to discuss is for the role of the man is to protect.
Protect. I was shocked at this one. You know, I've always heard that the jobs of a husband is to be the priest, the provider, and the protector. You look up protect in the Bible, there's not much there.
Yeah, when I was last night sat down looking over the notes y'all had gone through, there was not a scripture underneath it. So I was like, well, what are they missing here? Let me go
Right.
find a scripture. And there wasn't one.
It's really hard pressed. Now, does that mean God doesn't want us to protect our families? No. I'm not saying that, but like, wow, there's just not an overabundance of scripture on this. But we did find one, and we'll talk about this one. This is back in Ephesians 5:29.
For no man ever yet hated his own flesh, but nourisheth and cherisheth it, even as the Lord the church.
Now, the word cherish, this is, we heard someone say, this is the King James, cherish. I don't know what the other versions use, but the word cherish kind of indicates a protection. Now, you say, how? Well, think about the things that you cherish in your life. Like, I'm a coin collector. I got Jeremiah into actually, he's a coin dealer, so he deals the coins to me. I collect them, and not really. But if you have a really special one, what do? You put it in a case. You seal it up and you put it on a shelf. You protect it. What if you had a really fancy car in your garage? I've gone to many houses where they have it covered. You can't even look at it. It's protected in a way. Now, the protection here is we immediately think of physical protection. I got to get my guns and protect my wife and kids from bad guys. How else do bad guys come in? Through TV, movies, books, magazines, influences. We need to protect our families and our wives. They are easily influenced, right, babe?
Yep.
Can be.
Can be.
So can we. We need to be careful what they're being taught.
Yeah.
You know, the women, we're going to be talking about you next week and what you're supposed to be doing as your role in teaching younger women. But if you're getting hold of some heresy and some bad doctrine and modern psychology and things like that is ruining your life, you're ruining your family's life, that's a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to an illustration many years ago when I was actually listening to one of Bill Gothard's. I remember from some of his teaching, there's a picture a picture that he paints of protection. And that's the idea of an umbrella.
Okay, sure.
And so the umbrella, you have all you're under the umbrella, so you're protected from the rain. But if you have a hole in the umbrella, the water's going to come through and you're going to get wet. And it's the idea that for the father or the husband, he is the protector over the home. And if he is not performing that role, if he's allowing things into his home, then that's allowing Satan a path to get into the wife and the children.
Yeah, and if you don't believe that, try it, which I don't suggest.
No, don't try it.
Right, but honestly, if you're bringing terrible things into your home, you're opening the door up. Now, because people think that they can hide their sin. They think they can do well and still keep some sin hidden. It doesn't work that way. It affects every aspect of your life. And so if you open that door, if you let the little hole in the umbrella, like you said, it's going to make a bigger hole and a bigger hole. Pretty soon, you're not protected. And so it is our job to protect, cherishing her, even as the Lord cherished us. So.
The word cherish has so much more of a robust meaning than just love. I just don't really comprehend the whole idea of cherishing a wife.
Sure.
But that's the word that sticks out to me. So a husband should cherish his wife, and the wife should respect the husband.
Yep.
That's the thing for me. At least that's what I understand. I feel like that's what they want the most.
Yes.
The wife wants to know that she is cherished.
Well, we even say that in our wedding vows, don't we? That's part of it. There's actually a good book. It's called Cherish, right? Is it called Cherish? Mm-hmm. And it's by, I'm putting you on the spot, and you're drawing a blank, so that must mean
Gary Thomas.
Gary Thomas, who writes Sacred Marriage. He wrote a book called Cherish. It is very good.
It is
very,
very
very,
good.
very good.
Yeah.
And he points out some of these things. It's a longer book. We just said it in 5 minutes, so you don't need to read a book, I guess. So, anyway, let's go ahead. I hope this has been a good podcast or a good show on the role of a husband. It can go into much deeper detail, but this is just an overview of how to love your wife and some of the things to point out. but why don't we go ahead and recap this?
All right, so we talked about 5 different roles of the man or the husband
Sure,
in the
sure.
husband-wife relationship. The first one is to lead.
To lead. There's no doubt. I think that like we talked about last week. This is his. You are a leader. It doesn't command us to lead. We are, so we have to lead. Go ahead and lead.
The second role was love.
And actually, all these points are under this umbrella of love, but we give some hints on how to love. You need to love your wife as Christ loved the church.
The third one was teach.
Teach,
Fourth is to provide.
provide in many ways than just money, but yes, provide.
And number 5 is to protect.
And to protect more than just physically protect. We need to protect from all kinds of influences. So lead, love, teach, protect, provide, and protect. So LLTPP. I don't think that we need to come up with a.
Yeah, that's not a very good acronym.
No, we're so close to like tulip or something. But but anyway. So anyway, that is the role of a man, and I hope you guys enjoyed the show, listening to this. It was fun to get into, to study. It was so much to go through, but it's good to do that. If you want to spark a conversation with your wife, do a study on the roles of husbands and wives, and that'll actually spark it. We got into a whole bunch of discussions and went on a bunch of dates and talked about this. So we've been planning this for a couple of weeks, and anyway, I hope you enjoyed it.
And all the women are really glad to hear this episode and going to make sure that their husbands tune into this one. But ladies, your turn's coming.
Yep, next week, right? Next week we're going to be talking about the ladies' role, and that's the one where everyone just says, we're busy that weekend, right?
Yeah.
No, but I this is all good. This is, once again, the divine order of God. We each play our part. It is a wonderful picture of Christ in the church, and we have to keep that at the forefront. It's all about Christ, and we want to honor Christ in everything that we do.
Right. We need to make sure that the picture that we're presenting is honorable and to God.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you for Chuck and Sarah. Thank you for listening to the show, and we will be back next week.
We hope you enjoyed listening to The Mike Charleston Show.